Hi, my name is Pauline. I'm the founder of Imagine If, and I'm here today with Cain Ullah, who is one of the founders and the CEO of Red Badger.
Hi,
And Cain,
Pauline.
hello. And Cain's going to share with us his experience of coaching with me. So, can you share, first of all, Cain, what your experience was like with coaching and why you actually decided to have a coach in the first place?
It's interesting. Yeah, so I'll start with the second half of that question. So the why. So as originally it was more of a team thing. So as Red Badger were growing, it's quite a few years ago we brought you on now, Pauline. I can't remember how long, probably 4 years. I think we've been a client of yours. And Red Badger were going through some structural changes, and there was kind of a new leadership structure, and we were all very, very different people. And I thought, actually, my initial thoughts were actually that, as a management team, we needed coaching to be able to work with each other and be productive and learn how to operate with each other. So I think we kicked off actually with an all-day workshop that was off-site with you facilitating that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the why, really. And actually, that first meeting sort of uncovered quite a bit of tension. Actually, it was impact from the get-go, and there was some quite heated exchanges, and it actually resulted in changes of leadership after the very first day, which was definitely unexpected. But yeah, it was impactful immediately. It was really, really good. And ultimately, some of those decisions that we had to make were quite emotional, but they were definitely right. So like coaching uncovered some things that we'd clearly been avoiding for quite a long time. And then my experience since has been, one of a personal journey, really. We've all, we've implemented coaching kind of quite like sort of widespread across Red Badger to about 25 people. I think we opened coaching to once we saw the value of it. But we haven't really sort of progressed with the team stuff, and actually it's been focused very much on the individual. So my experience since the initial workshop with team has been one of a personal journey, so a personal discovery, if you like, and learning why I behave in certain ways and sort of moving into awareness and that sort of stuff. And it's definitely been life-changing for me in many ways, actually, in family life, just due to being more present and reduction of stress and, those sorts of things, and actually being able to focus more on my wife and child. But then also, understanding kind of the role that I was playing. So I was at one point, rescuing all of the time, and like kind of getting into why that was. And I didn't even know what rescuing was. Kind of getting really deep into an understanding of why I behave in that way and the energy that it kind of saps from me, and how to put some simple tools in place to not behave in that way. And so I've just learnt about my own behavior and how that impacts me, and the assumptions that I make about others not being true. And I've just, continued to grow as an individual, and be more comfortable in my skin, and be more present and more aware over the years. It's been a long journey, actually, of just continuous improvement.
And you offered coaching to many people within the organisation. Those people that took up coaching, what difference did you see with those individuals?
So some sort of visibly different to others. Obviously, I never know what they're talking about and what they've discussed because it's completely confidential. But there's specific individuals inside of Red Badger that have been elevated to like more senior positions that they're potentially comfortable with, and they've kind of been pushed. And they're suffering from imposter syndrome and all sorts of stuff. And actually, the coaching has definitely given them new levels of confidence and like their ability to feel comfortable in their own skin, but their ability to engage with senior stakeholders on the clients, that they had imposter syndrome and things like that, and when dealing with very senior clients terrified the life out of them, actually. And I think there's definitely been a journey for many of the kind of newly promoted senior people in Red Badger on how to kind of deal with their own fears around that sort of engagement at more senior level, and just feeling more confident. Just having it's very hard without knowing what they've discussed. It's very hard to pinpoint exactly what the change is, but it's a feeling. When you're around them, just like their energy and how they communicate with you, how they talk about what they're doing is just comes with a just a different aura. If it comes with a different energy, the way that they deliver what they're saying and that sort of stuff. So I definitely think it's had a significant impact on many. I don't know about all of them because there's quite a lot of them, but I've definitely noticed a significant impact on some specific individuals for sure.
Yeah. And what have been the highlights for you in terms of the changes that you've seen in your life?
So it's all sort of connected, really. If I think about the things in work that were causing me quite a bit of stress, and then how that then impacts the rest of your life as well as your personal life and your relationships and everything. So I think a really key factor for me was founder relationships. So, there's 3 founders at Red Badger, and we're all very, very different. And actually, that was what made Red Badger a success, like the different skills and attributes and the tension between risk taking and but also although that made Red Badger really successful, it also was extremely stressful in aligning and agreeing and energy sapping, and so I was finding myself trying to predict. If I come up with an idea, I would predict how my co-founders would respond to that idea. And I was coming up with all sorts of scenarios about how I could win that battle, and before even having a conversation. Something that you've always said to me, Pauline, is that there is no future. And it's so hard to put that into practice. But, I think learning how to deal with my founder relationships has had a profound impact with everything else. So that actually the level of stress that used to create, the reduction of stress as a result of how I changed, and then that then resulting in being more present. I think presence and awareness is really, really key. Like being more present at home, and like be looking in my wife's eyes or looking in my son's eyes and not be thinking about work is massive. It's actually a huge, huge thing for a founder that has kind of lived and breathed a company on a 10-year journey, taking it from 3 people to 140, to be able to be present was quite a milestone in my life. and quite a profound change, actually. Yeah, and I think it's made everyone around me happier as well. My wife and my child has my son's got equal benefit from it as well. So yeah, that I think that would be the main thing. It's kind of found the relationships through all the way through to better relationships at home and with friends and those around me because of reduction in stress, more energy and more presence.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, my coaching practice has become more spiritual, and bringing that into organizations is quite a different approach, but I see it as really powerful. Has that been your experience in terms of what you just described is really powerful in terms of your experience within the organization?
Yeah, definitely. I've found that challenging as well. The spiritual side of the coaching. I'm so logical, and like my natural mode of thinking is like in the top left side of my head. And when in our coaching sessions, when you've asked me to kind of change my mindset and think about things from the perspective of fear, and I found that extremely challenging, but have approached it with an open mind. And you have to approach it with an open mind if it's not your natural mode of thinking. And that I think that's probably there are a few light bulb moments along many months of and years of coaching where the penny dropped of why it's so powerful. And kind of me trying to apply process to awareness and things like that where actually the power in it is that there's nothing to do. But yeah, once the penny does drop, it is extremely powerful. You start feeling your own feelings that you weren't aware of. You understand what you want, and then once you know what you want from a place of awareness, you just go for it, and it tends to happen. Lots of things like that just are actually really powerful because they're much more efficient in getting stuff done from a position of understanding and awareness. As before, you're kind of creating all sorts of scenarios and trying to work out solutions to all of these hypotheticals, and it's a really, really inefficient way of operating when you're trying to logic every single kind of approach to every problem. And so this kind of the spiritual side and sort of being in the body and listening to the body. You've spoken to me a lot about kind of wisdom is innate, it's in here. And actually you need a level of awareness to actually listen to the answers that are within, rather than trying to look externally all the time. And once you get that, then stuff just falls, just happens. The stuff that you want to happen just happens once you understand what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been very powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens, but it can be quite scary. And if you haven't experienced that before, what you're using is all of you rather than a part of you. Being present is amazing, as you say.
And one of the challenges I had was I was always trying to understand it rather than just feel it.
Wow. Yeah.
And then once that penny drops, is that it is just that you just have to be aware. And there is nothing to understand. Then the answers present themselves.
Yeah, we do want to understand so much, and it really is liberating to know that you don't have to. Just this
Yeah.
deep knowing is so powerful. And was there anything else? I mean, you pretty much answered my question. Was there anything else you found challenging in terms of stepping into a fear, to get an awareness? I mean, what you've described is amazing anyway. Was there anything else?
Is there anything else that I found challenging? I mean, I suppose some of the, everything's a bit of a journey, right? It's not like you get it and then the next day you're a changed person. So I think I think getting to awareness is, I'm still not there. It's just a gradual kind of journey to getting to it.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the other challenges was kind of unlearning behavior. And when you are going through that process of unlearning it, it's also how others are responding to you when they're used to your previous mode of operation.
Yeah.
Like example being the rescuer, if you think about the drama triangle, the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. I had all of these victims around me that kind of were leaning on me. And then when I was kind of putting it back to them to provide their own feedback and giving them all of these tools, I think it was a bit shocking.
Yeah.
For them, but also helpful. But the kind of stopping myself from just drifting straight back into my natural mode took a long time to not do that. And I'm, it's a constant thing that you have to work on, I think. So unlearning behavior that's been around for a very long time is challenging, and it's not an overnight thing that changes. It's something you have to continuously work at.
Yeah. And what I love about it is when we talk about something, from my experience of having a coach, is you talk about something and then that thing keeps on happening in between that session and the next session to give you the opportunity to practice and be aware of a new way.
Yeah, it was quite interesting when we first started coaching together. It took about 3 months, I think, to kind of really get into coaching. So I was turning up to our sessions and going, I don't really know what to talk about now. And then kind of probably about 3 months in, I was finding myself almost daily going, that's something for Pauline. And sort of it took about 3 months to get into that behavior. But, I ended up having a big long list of all of the things that I wanted to bring to our sessions. And so it's quite interesting. Quite interesting that it just takes it's just a change in behavior, isn't it? It takes some time to get used to.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone, maybe another CEO who's considering bringing coaching into an organisation and for themselves? What would you say?
I think do it. Every leader should have a coach. I think chemistry is also important. You were one of a number of coaches that we brought in as options for people to use because, I love working with you, but, it's not just, that doesn't mean that everyone will. And so I think it's good to have options, and chemistry is really important. And then I think, it's approach it with an open mind. I think a lot of people feel like they don't need a coach, but then they have all sorts of blind spots that other people see and experience, like both positively and negatively. And so, you know, I think quite a lot of people reject coaching after a few sessions because it unearths things that are uncomfortable for them. But actually, it's really important to face those things head on and approach them with an open mind, because you know, that is how you are going to ultimately be on a path to better well-being and happiness and more awareness and presence and all of that sort of stuff. You have to unearth the uncomfortable things about yourself. You know, I think quite a lot of people, when they first start coaching, they want help with dealing with someone else. And I don't know whether that's true in your experience, but actually often the problems they have with someone else is about themselves. But they don't want to face that bit.
No.
Because it's much easier to sort of say, oh, it's someone else's fault. That's the easy journey. So I think, I think everyone should have a coach. I think you should approach it with an open mind and be prepared to, you know, get a bit uncomfortable, actually, and then sort of start to deal with the discomfort and look inward at kind of how you respond to things, and kind of how you're projecting that that's the fault of others, but actually it's not, it's you. And that's often very, very difficult for people to face up to.
And is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish?
Just that, you know, I'm very appreciative of the coaching that you've given me over the years. It's definitely been life-changing. And to my colleagues as well. I don't know how many you've coached, but there's definitely more than two hands worth of fingers. I think it's more than 10. Yeah, so that's it really. I'm just very appreciative of it. I continue to learn more. Like each new session is, you know, coaching is never done. Each new session brings something new to think about. Yeah, and that's it really. Just thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much for sharing your experience, Cain. I really appreciate it.
No problems. Take care.